here. Okay, cool. So we should be live in a couple seconds. Let me actually bring it up here and see if we can get a new window. Here we go. And bring this up. All right, cool. I see it's up, so that's good. Let me check on sound, and we should be good to go whenever you're ready.
All right, sounds good. Check us out, see how we sound, all that good stuff. And then, yeah, this is episode 107. Jesus. Yeah, 107.
All right, we're good. Sound good. Get it started.
Okay, cool. Uh, all right. Guys, welcome to the 107th episode of the DualShock and Sense podcast. I am your host, Soul, connoisseur anime wife, who's joined by, just we only have 2/3 of the usual crew. Um, I feel like I've been saying that a lot recently.
The entire
Uh,
summer, man. Honestly.
honestly. But yeah, man, it's just me and Macho show again. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Damn, I don't have my Final Fantasy cup. I just put it away after drinking my coffee. I can't recite the prayer and the hymns of Final Fantasy 14, but in any case, man, welcome back to DualShock Sense 107, man. And Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy Fanatic back at it again. Have for a quick podcast here. We don't have a lot to talk about, but it's been a pretty active week, I think. Right?
Um, I guess.
I've been
um,
dropping in and out of Twitter because I go onto the DualShock Sense podcast, mostly just to check for for fighting game stuff,
yeah.
but nothing really that I've seen.
There's been some pretty dumb stuff that's been happening. But aside from that, yeah, I guess a pretty a pretty typical dead week again. Nothing too special.
Oh
Um,
man,
but yeah, man, that's yeah,
even with Baldur's
we
Gate 3,
are.
it's a dead week. Damn.
Well, that's really been. We'll talk about it because I don't think you've seen what's been happening with this, but yeah, we'll talk about it.
Other than the
Um,
praise, but yeah.
yeah. So yeah, we are gonna get started by talking about what we've been up to this past week, what we've been playing, all that good stuff. I can go really quick because it's really just been more Just Cause 4, just
Tell me about it, man. Tell me
Macho,
about this enthralling experience of the
Macho.
Just
This
Cause
game,
series.
this game it's crazy because I think it came out in 2018, and the people look horrendous, and they look like I don't even know how to describe it. Like it's insane that like a game like GTA 5, and granted that game has infinitely more resources, but like a game in 2013, the people just look far better. Like
Oh, I have another game in relation to what you're talking about, so this will be a fun conversation.
yeah, I don't know. It's just odd, but like that's a nitpick. I don't really care about that because the amount of cutscenes in this game are so far and few between. It's just like you don't even really notice it. So it's kind of like that. You played Infamous Second Son, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that classic thing of like what we were talking about last podcast, where it's like, um, we're the rebels and we have to take back the land from the bad government or whatever. So it's like you slowly taking over little quadrants of like the map. Kind of like AC Syndicate style, or how every Far Cry game does it, where it's like the giant map is divided up into these, like 20 or so sections, and you're slowly taking over the map section by section by section to like drive out the invaders or the government or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's like that setup. Um, I literally have one more section of the map left, so like I'm almost done with the game. But man, I'm ready for it to be over, man. It's such a bog standard open world game. Like it's just it's so boring. The only real exciting thing is, of course, the movement. I talked about that at length on the last podcast, and it's so fun being like, because there's multiple areas on the map where it's like literal war zones where it's like you're like the rebels and the invading force or government or whatever, like literally just duking it out in this random like open field or whatever, and it's like literally like two sides of the battle, right? Like your people on the left, the other side are on the right, and they're just just literally like a war zone, and it's just so fun, like using the suit and like flying over the battle, and then just like kind of like a fucking Iron Man, and landing right in the center of this goddamn war zone, and being like, okay, okay.
That feeling is always amazing, honestly.
Yeah, it's really cool. I was trying to think what. Oh, is I feel like it's kind of like why I like Dying Light so much. It's just because like I don't know, man. Like games with movement, like good movement systems, are never like not fun. Like even if like the open world activities and the story isn't really in the combat isn't really doing it for me, just like the moment to moment like ability of getting from place to place is so enthralling and so fun that like I don't know, I just kind of like forget about everything else because like honestly 70% of the experience has just been about me having fun wingsuiting and grappling and parachuting everywhere. So yeah.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of Infamous, the first game, actually, because I was just watching a bit of a playthrough last night,
Yeah.
and it was funny because I was looking at the gameplay and like the way Cole moves is like how you want him to move, like whenever he's dodge rolling or climbing up a
Yeah.
building. Something like this game, I remember feeling great to play.
Yeah, yeah, or even the prototype games too. They did a really good job with that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Um But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Almost on Just Cause 4. Just biding my time until
I bet
Baldur's
you
Gate.
are. When you asked us in
um
Discord, you guys playing it yet? I know how badly you wanted to say no, so we have all the fresh experience.
yeah. But what something that I didn't know is that so obviously the game comes out on PS5 on September 6th, but
Yeah.
if you get I didn't know that there was like an early access thing. That lets you play a few days earlier. So September 2nd is like if you buy the deluxe version,
Uh
you
huh.
can play it on the 2nd.
Oh, really?
And and Macho, you know me. I'm
Yeah.
usually against I'm usually against
Uh,
these practices.
it's on
I
record. Yeah, I know.
yeah, I think they're BS, because what it is that when EA and Microsoft, they love to do this with Forza and Gears. The thing is that
Uh,
they say the worldwide release is like, let's say September 18th, but if you pay 20 extra dollars, you get to play it on September 14th.
oh, yeah.
In
Yeah.
reality,
I'm
what they're
familiar.
doing is the actual release date is September 14th.
Right.
That's the actual release date, but they're just being greedy sons of what,
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
push it to the 18th,
Of
right?
course, yeah.
um it's greedy.
Uh huh.
I don't like those practices.
Go on.
However,
Uh huh.
this is this is the one game I'm willing to sell my soul for. So, so you know what?
Oh,
I
man.
I will be there September 2nd, shelling
Oh,
out that
man. His watch will
$80.
not return, not to the White Tower, he says.
Yeah, it's it's unfortunate, but so we all have our our breaking points.
You know, when you're playing Just Cause, it could lead you to madness. And right now, you succumb
Honestly,
to weakness, man. That's it. It's okay.
I've seen some dark stuff, man. Um, but yeah, so
Hey,
that's
go
pretty
for it,
much.
man. So you paying the extra what, $10? I think it
I
is.
think it's 20. I think it's 80. I think it's 80. Um,
Oh, okay.
well, actually, I don't know if it's $70 or $60 on PS5. I don't know if they've made the jump to 70 or not.
Hmm.
Because they're I believe self-published, so they don't have like a publisher like an EA or Activision or anyone like that putting the $70 price tag on the game. So who knows? But yeah, that's pretty much been it for me. It's just Cause
He's
4. What
just
about you? What's
waiting.
been going
He's,
on?
he's just waiting. He's just waiting for Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate. I feel you, man. So yeah, this week has been serious fun because of Baldur's Gate 3. Sammy
Uh,
like is I've been insisting on like should I go it? Should I buy it? And then she's like,
Cross
no,
save. It's cross save.
I know it's cross save, you son of a bitch. It's trying not to spend the money. And I'm actually glad I didn't because of the fact that a couple of things came up like from bills or just life where I just needed to pay for some stuff. So I was like, all right, I really can't afford it. Plus, I've actually picked up from the extra funds I have the other expansion to the Lord of the Rings living card game I've been talking about. So there's
Okay.
this seller on eBay who's actually been selling them at a discount. So like these expansions usually cost $70 to like $40. This guy's been selling them for like 50
Okay.
and 30. So that's like a nice little savings there. So you finally had the last expansion that I wanted from this set. So I picked it up and I got a couple like card sleeves, stuff like that. So it's good thing I didn't pick up Baldur's Gate 3 because that would have been the extra time sink. But man, I know cross save, the fact it's on Steam Deck, I'm going to Puerto Rico soon. So like all this stuff's like I'm juggling. But
Yeah.
instead I'm hitting the backlog. So there's a couple of things I want to do and finish before I actually did my trip next week. So I actually ended up finishing the novel to the Final Fantasy VII, like little companion book that they have called Trace of Two Paths, which focuses on Aerith and Tifa's background and like their childhood and stuff like that. A couple of stuff is like really like dark, like especially for Aerith's childhood, since she's basically grown up in the Shinra headquarters, so just basically being to come to the lab and having to deal with like these atrocities with her mother being in experiments and stuff like that. So a lot of like really deep stuff there, along with Tifa's background. Because I'm not sure, are you familiar with Crisis Core? Like what happens in
No, not at all.
Okay, so something happens to Tifa, right? Where actually it's in the trailer where you see her get slashed in the 5v7 Rebirth trailer.
Yeah.
So the book takes place actually after those events, so her recovery, what happens to her hometown and her family, stuff like that. So all that stuff, like she's like a survivor, man. So it's really cool to kind of get that background and that layout, so that when you play a Rebirth, I have so much more of a connection to these characters than I ever did before, and I think that's such a cool thing, especially for like a huge Final Fantasy VII fan myself. So for anybody
Yeah,
that
that's the type of like um extra media that I really appreciate that like gives like more context between like you know games or movies or stuff like that. Like the things that can like fill in the gaps, you know? Like those are always like really really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Which is like even I know you're not a huge Final Fantasy fan, but like whenever you play remake, I recommend picking up the book because it's not like a huge action packed book. It's really covering mostly their day to day or event by event in those gaps there. But it provides so much context, and then once you actually get into the game, you're like, I know what you've been through, and I know what you're carrying, what kind of burdens you're carrying, which is like another layer of their characters just adds to it along with remakes. So even for you, like I know you're a reader, so I would recommend picking it up and going through that before Rebirth. Um,
Awesome.
so yeah, I finished that book up, and I finished up Marvel Midnight Suns. So this ties into what you're talking about with ugly character models. This game runs like ass.
Really?
Dog. Like the final stage, like the actual final boss, final stage area, was dropping to like 15 to 20 frames. And this game was consistent just for dropping frames. Like every time you're like in the hub area, it always dropped to like mid 20s to 30s on Steam Deck. And even on my regular PC, it would just drop to like the 40s, whatever. I'm running it like 60 to 120, depending on the staging areas. But this game runs like ass, dog. It's so unoptimized on Steam. I can't even imagine playing it on consoles. To be honest with you, it's probably more stable, but even then, it was whatever. And the character models, yeah, are just ugly. Basically, like through the last half of the game, I just stopped caring about what characters were saying, and I just started skipping through all the dialogue and the cutscenes. I just wanted to
That's
get
the
to the
worst.
gameplay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a double edged sword there. It's like you just don't care. You kind of feel like you're wasting your time through those certain things. But and I'm very big on like I don't want to waste my time with a lot of these games I'm playing. But the gameplay
Yeah.
was just so much fun,
Okay.
and the DLC characters made it even better. So Morbius, Deadpool, Venom, Storm was the last one I just played, which those characters itself, ironically, those DLCs have the best story that I've experienced. It's really just about a new breed of vampires taking over New York, and so that's where the other DLC characters come in and how they play into it. And then like Cognito was saying on our 100th episode, it all funnels into like this one big staging area where you get to fight with all the DLC characters, which was really cool. And those characters were overpowered. Venom was just a beast, like absolutely taking down crowd control. He's just massive. And spoiler for anyone who's playing Marvel Midnight Suns, but so big spoiler right here. You get to play as Hulk near the end, and he's added to your party. He's super cool because every time he takes damage, he gets rage induced, so his attacks get powerful. But you have to be careful that he doesn't get killed, obviously. So he was just a massive difference in terms of just blowing through the staging area, which is really cool. So that was fun, and I think that's really it, man. There's one other game I've been playing actually. There you go. Now that I bring it up here, now I'm getting through my thoughts sorted out. So one of the games that got revealed this week that I had an urge to go back to. I was ready to do it anyways. I was going to do like a nice little duology set here, and that's Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, okay.
So, shout outs to Xbox 360 and PC Lords.
Wait, was this before the announcement or after the announcement?
Well, I planned on going back to these games before the announcement, and then seeing it get brought back up, I was like, all right, this can actually be good because it's going to get rid of my FOMO for Baldur's Gate 3, which it did, because I was actually texting while I was like, man, I finished Marvel Midnight Suns. I want to play something that's immersive. I want to get myself really invested into something and all that, right? And Baldur's Gate 3 is like really right here. I'm just like, yes, that's the perfect game, right? But I'm trying not to spend money right now. And this game would take me forever to finish. So Red Dead Redemption port gets announced. I was like, you know what? That's a perfect game to go back to. And I started it up, and I immediately just started getting immersed into the world, man. Like, this game is from 2010. It still has that magic.
Yeah.
And you see a little bit more of the skeleton. Like, you see like the blueprint of what Rockstar was doing for open worlds back then. So it's a little more basic, but you still get those really unique and personal gameplay moments, like whenever you're riding your horse and you come across like a passerby and they're like, please sir, I need help, please, and next thing he just pulls out his revolver and starts shooting you.
No.
like it's stuff like that. It's like really cool, man. That just makes me be like, yeah, like this is what open world games are all about, at least from back then, from what Rockstar was doing. And I can't wait to see the difference between Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. Not just for graphic difference, but for storytelling and stuff like that. Because since this game was released in 2010, it's a little more basic, but you still see the quality for what was back then. And I really like John Marston as a character. I'm liking the side characters. The beginning part's a little slow, but still it's like this world building there. So again, you're getting immersed into that world of Red Dead Redemption, the Western sort of identity that's there, and it's really good. Have you ever played it?
No, I have not played the first one.
Oh man. Okay, so this would be a treat for you. You played Red Dead Redemption 2 though, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay. So you're gonna have all that context from Arthur and yeah, man. So this one, I'll say, it's tough recommending the port that's coming out, especially for $50.
Yeah.
But whenever it drops in price, I say go for it, because even though it doesn't include multiplayer, but still, the story and just like again seeing the skeleton of like the blueprint of what Rockstar was making before GTA 5 is really fascinating. And you still get those really cool moments where you're just riding your horse and all of a sudden something happens. You're like, well, I'm kind of distracted here. So it's really cool. And it's funny because I thought that this game was a little too basic when I was going through like the certain random instances, or the side missions, because I got this one side mission, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, so I need you to find like my missing boy. He's been gone for 3 days. He's in this one area. I was like, all right, fine. So I go there, right? Find a pool of blood and a missing shoe, but nothing else. That was the end of the quest. I was like, all right, that's a little weird. Just make me go into one place, right? But the same thing happens again, right? And it's like someone's missing wife. So I go to the same spot, another pool of blood, and another missing shoe. I don't know why they're stealing all the shoes here. And I was like, all right, that's weird. End of the quest. So it happens again. I'm like, all right, man, there's something brewing here. And then the woman's crying. She said, "My husband's been missing for a couple days. I don't know where he's at. He went missing at the hanging rock." And John Marston's like, "All right, well, I'll go see what this is all about." So we go again. Find the same thing, missing pool of blood, and no. So this part actually was I found a guy that was shot in the leg, right? And this guy's a little suspect, but in case he's shot, he's like, "Oh, some guy shot me and he ran off, blah blah blah." And I was like, "All right, I'm gonna go catch him." So you see the guy running. I go catch him. I hog tie him, bring him back, and then the guy's like, "Oh, thank you for bringing him back here." And he's like, "All right, now I can't wait to get into my dinner." And and I was, yeah, exactly. I was like, "What?" And then you actually had the option to leave the guy hog tied to be eaten, or to shoot. So, so of course I shoot the guy in the head because the guy's crazy. So, and I cut the guy off and then untie him, and it turns out like the guy reveals to me that like there's like a group of cannibals in the area, and so all the missing people are actually being eaten by like a hidden group of cannibals. So it's little stuff like that. So like that got me really excited. I'm like, yo, all right, there's gotta be. I know there's more to this. I haven't played this game in like 12 years, so
Yeah.
I'm excited to really delve deep into Red Dead Redemption and see what other surprises going to give me, because I know there's a couple, so I'm really excited to see them again.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, there isn't enough games, not even just specifically like westerns, but like period pieces kind of games like that just like take place in like, like a moment in history. And like I don't know, I always like really gravitate towards those games. They're always like really really cool to me. Um,
Yeah,
but
like there's
that
there's,
sounds
like especially for this one, there's like an impending doom that like the cowboys and sort of the western sort of take it's it's dying out.
yeah, yeah,
And for John Marston in this scenario, you already know what happens with Red Dead Redemption
yeah,
2, but for the first game, it's nearing the end of that cycle, and really you're seeing more of a government influence from the east carrying over to the west, and then how the people in the west area are really kind of reflecting on that, and whether they're rebuttal against it or trying to keep their own traditions. So you see a lot of that kind of bleed in just from not just from NPCs, but also just from other characters in the world, which is really cool too. So, and that's in like from the first 5 to 10 hours of the game I'm playing. So really good stuff, man. This game aged like fine wine.
gotcha. Yeah, that sounds awesome, man. Yeah, it's just the port, man. And that it's like and it's not even like a remaster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that like, hey, $50, fine, whatever. But like the fact that it just like the extra work that's been put into it is so minimal. That's the tough pill to swallow. That like I can't justify spending. If it was $50 for a remaster, fine, maybe I guess, but like for what they're offering, like absolutely not. 2K.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. Because so I own the game first off. So anyone who watches, I own the game, but I'm emulating it on PC. And this is from the Digital Foundry video that came up like I think when the rumors were spiraling around, and they made a video saying how you can emulate the game but have it at like 4K, whatever FPS you want. But it's very demanding because the fact that you're emulating an Xbox 360 game, then you're upgrading it to a different resolution. So I'm actually playing at 1440p, and it looks like a remaster. No joke. So all the textures are way sharper. Just like the amount of detail on John Marston and the characters are something that doesn't even feel like from a 2010 game when I'm playing it,
Yeah.
which is incredible. So it's just really just doing that, just emulating at 1440p. But I'm playing at 40 FPS since it is super demanding. But even then, that's enough of a difference, anyways. Because we get that on PS5, where you get like really sharp looking graphics and textures, like from Horizon Forbidden West or Ratchet and Clank. But you're playing at 40 FPS, but it feels good to play, and that's exactly what I get from this emulation here. So it feels like I'm playing a completely different game from what I did like 12 years ago. So I'd say I'm serving the purpose there. But yeah,
Yeah.
if this game is like $30 or something like that, yo, go for it. Especially if you never played it.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that's and then I don't know if you saw Strauss Zelnick's comment afterwards, but like him
Yeah, I did.
yeah,
About the pricing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, about the pricing. Yeah.
yeah. It's like, oh, this is matching. What was it like? What did he say exactly? Do you remember? It's like this is what the market
Right.
something.
It matches like what the market like demands or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, something along those lines. I mean, what he, you know what Nintendo dudes are gonna do though?
Oh man.
It's like, oh, it's the portable tax. It's fine. And then
Yeah.
PlayStation dudes are like, it's the trophy tax. That's okay. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's cool that you know. I was actually thinking about like stopping my playthrough on PC and picking up on Switch because why not? But yeah, no, that $50 is if you're gonna spend $50 on a port, I might as well spend $60 on Baldur's Gate 3. That's how I saw it. So.
Yes, sir. Um, but yeah, man, is that it for you?
Yeah, that's it. That's it, man. Just a bunch of Red Dead Redemption. I got to, you know, gush about it on the pie. I don't think I have, other than saying like it's one of my favorite games of all time. But
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to really like play it since like the late PS3 days. So I'm really excited to get through more of it and then play the Red Dead Redemption 2. So
Awesome. Yeah, Red Dead 2 is goddamn fantastic, man. That story is one of the best stories that I've ever experienced, like period. It's yeah, it's fantastic. Um so wait, so you've never finished RDR2?
I did, yeah. It's just
Okay, gotcha.
a lot of it was a blur because of the fact that I wasn't really so hot into the story. Um,
Okay.
but it was just weird at that time too, when it came out. But what made me fall in love with it was exploring the open world, and
Yeah,
that's what really pushed me to like finish the game. But I'm excited to go back into it though, now with a fresh new perspective.
gotcha. Um yeah, so that's gonna wrap it up for the games that we've been playing. And I guess Red Dead Redemption, the port as well. I guess we kind of knocked out that topic too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I'm trying to think. I guess we can go into Baldur's Gate 3, talk about that. The game obviously is a runaway success. I think the last major update was that it had over 800,000 concurrent players on Steam, which is crazy. Um, it was something like I think it was something like the ninth most like all time like played game on Steam like all time or whatever.
That's
Like
so
it's doing
crazy,
really good.
dude.
It's doing really good.
Did you ever
Um,
expect this? This gonna be that big?
I didn't expect it was going yeah that it wasn't or sorry let me let me back up. I didn't expect that it was gonna be like this successful. I I'm not surprised that it's as good as it is. Because
Right.
like obviously playing DOS 2 and just like knowing that this team has had this game in early access for like years, so like they have been able to like get this game in players' hands and get that feedback and then implement that feedback back into the game to keep making it better over the course of years. Um so like yeah, I wasn't I knew it was gonna be good, but I didn't know it was gonna be a 97 on Metacritic good, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dog. That 97, it dethroned Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for the highest Metascore.
And granted, it's only like what, like 13 reviews. Like some people have
No,
not finished this
20,
game
20
yet.
right now.
20 still, but like you would have to imagine that like I don't know if it's gonna get to like Sony levels of like usually Sony games get like over like 100 reviews. I don't know if it will get there. I don't know how many reviews the original Sin 2 got, but like
Let me
you
check.
have to imagine that they're gonna get like over 60, 70, 80 reviews. So like it'll be interesting to see if that 97 holds. Um
So Divinity Original Sin 2 has 71 reviews and
Okay.
it's at a 93.
Yeah. So I imagine this game is probably gonna get more than 70. Um, we will see if that 97 holds.
Still, even
But
then, that's
still, yeah.
impressive.
That's the thing. I'm still imagining this game is gonna probably land at like 94, 95. Regardless, that's still a really incredible score.
Well,
Um,
there's gonna be because I'm Metacritic. They don't mix the PC and PS5 versions, right? So there might be two different meta scores here.
right, right.
So I'm thinking a lot of those review keys are gonna be on PlayStation 5.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. Yeah, because I mean that's where that's if you think about it, PlayStation 5s were, I guess, not for the PC audience obviously, but it's gonna be where the casual audience is. So the people are gonna be looking for the PS5 version of this thing,
I,
right? I
I
mean
think
that's what
there.
I would think.
I mean, I think there will be. I mean, like most games that are multi-platform, there reviews for like all of them. But I think because this is a PC game, so most of the reviews are going to be there. But I think you will see like some like few reviews on PS5, but not too much. Like I think I think you'll probably see like 20 or 30. Kind of like this isn't me taking a shot at Xbox, but like kind of like how you see like most reviews nowadays for like multi-platform games skew more towards PlayStation, and then you'll see like what like 13, 20 reviews on Xbox.
Oh,
Um,
that's called bias, Soul. That's called bias.
it's just it's just where reviewers get their code. Like,
Hey man, yeah, no, that's the way the game is played, man. That's it. That's how it was in their 360 days. So
yeah. So I imagine it's gonna be like that. But regardless, man, yeah, what are you seeing about the game? I imagine that you're very excited for it too, right?
I'm so excited, dude. Just the idea of getting immersed into like the fantasy world and having it with like the skeletons of Bioware RPG decision making, and the fact that it's turn based too. I think it's a really cool nod. Like I wish it was action based, but at the fact if they're really putting all their cards on the fact that it's a turn based game, then I have to assume that they obviously know what they're doing. I never played a Larian Studios game, so but based on what you were saying, what other people were saying, is that the game is hard and that
Yeah,
it's really gonna kick your ass. You really have to think. It's not like what I got from Marvel Midnight Suns, which was like a good casual to strategic sort of game. Like I had to use my brain, but there are other times I was just like, all right, I can just start clicking buttons. And I kind of felt the same way about Fire Emblem games. So even for like, well, Triangle Strategy was good strategy, but still nothing as in depth as something like Baldur's Gate 3 or even Tactics Ogre Reborn. So I'm excited to get into it. From what I'm hearing, what I'm most excited for is the story, the writing, the voice acting, and just the decision making, how I can influence the story, and like the quirky things I could
yeah.
do, the people I can sleep with, as a half orc. Um,
Oh, that's what
yeah,
you're going for? Half orc?
yeah, I think so. I want to because I usually don't play like as orcs or really like I haven't really had the chance to play as one like in an RPG. So I think that'd be cool.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I want to go with that and then see if I can get with that. I don't know what that red skin lady, the red skin demon,
Yeah.
whoever she is. I'm down, dog.
Oh man.
What did they say? There's like a meme that just went across as like what was it? It's something like you can't romance. Oh, it was a meme I saw on Instagram where someone was like, you can't romance aliens, and then a romantic author was like, are you sure about that? You sure about that?
Yeah.
So the same thing here for Baldur's Gate 3, man. I'm gonna be an absolute half orc whore out here.
Oh
So
man.
so I'm excited for that stuff more like the combat, but everything else, dude, like it's speaking to me, and I can't wait to play it. So I might jump into it when you guys do, but from what you've
Yeah.
seen, you've been on Twitter, you've been around the socials here. So what have you seen? What are you excited for?
Oh man. So yeah, obviously that doesn't need to really be said, but yeah,
Yeah,
this
you
is
paid extra $20 for that.
this is without a doubt my most anticipated game of the year.
Let's
I
go.
forgot. I think it was this year that we had that state of play where like it was let's be honest, that state of play was cheeks, man. But the one thing that really like I remember watching in my bed and made me jump out of my bed was seeing Baldur's Gate 3 just randomly showing up there because that was the announcement that it was coming to PS5 pretty close after the PC release, and like that's just something that you don't really expect with these kinds because even Original Sin 2 like it took a year and some change for it to come to other platforms. So I was depressed, man. I was full on expecting that that was gonna be the same case here, you know. Um, but yeah,
That
so
announcement happened. My guy's pee came out of his boxers. That's wild.
honestly, yeah. So I
He's
was
like,
so
yeah.
excited. Yeah, so I was so excited that that it was coming relatively soon after the PC release. So yeah, that was awesome. So yeah, that's just to illustrate my excitement for this game.
Good man.
Um, yeah, even me just getting more into D&D like this past year because this is more D&D than Original Sin 2 was,
Mm.
or the Original Sin games in general are. Um, so I'm a little nervous and not nervous about that because like uh, to be honest, the original Sin games are like, hey, if you're new to CRPGs, those are the games that you should start off with. Those are like they're popular for a reason, and it's because they're like babies first CRPGs. Like they're not super hardcore like a Pathfinder, um, but at the same time they still offer you like that kind of traditional CRPG like kind of game if you're looking for that,
So
but they're not
something for
super hardcore.
like for me basically.
Yeah, but at the same time, like they can still be like there's a lot of depth to those games still. All I'm saying is that they're not like you're not gonna be doing dice rolls and like looking for initiative and things like that, right? Whereas with Baldur's Gate 3, yeah, you are doing like all those things. It is a lot more hardcore D&D, but at the same time, at least the impression that I'm getting is that it's still going to be like really really approachable to newcomers and stuff like that, which Pathfinder, which is another CRPG, I didn't find too approachable, and that's why I bounced off that game was because it is hardcore D&D and it's just a lot. It was a lot for me to grasp, so that's why I couldn't really get into it.
Hmm.
Even though I hear that it's really really damn good. Um but yeah, so that's why I'm excited for BG3 because it does feel like it's a middle ground between like it's not going to be as training wheels, and that's that's probably like you know, like that's probably hyperbole because like the original Sin 2 is not easy, but it's BG3 seems like it's a middle ground between original Sin 2 and something like Pathfinder, where Pathfinder is like on the spectrum is like all the way on like the hardcore side, and DOS2 is on the other side where it's like not too hardcore. You can kind of get into it a lot easier. And BG3 is like in that nice sweet spot where it's between both of those kinds of games.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's why I'm really excited, but a little nervous at the same time, just to see like how hardcore it can get. But yeah, man, I mean, this is the game. This is why I always like kind of roast or like drag Fallout 4 and Skyrim through the coals is
Yeah.
because like and games like Outer Worlds where it's just like are we really calling these games RPGs because like they really aren't, man. Like, sure, I guess technically maybe, but like they just don't have like the depth and like decision making and like the ability where you, the player, can really make this game and like take it in any direction that you want to, and the game will accommodate that, right? Like, if you want to kill off like a major like party member like 5 hours into the game will let you do that. There will be consequences for it, obviously, but the game has like parameters in place for you to be able to do that. Just you have to be in mind that there will be consequences for that, right? Whereas if you compare that to a game like a Skyrim and like a Fallout 4 and things like that, like they just don't have the ability for you to like have like wiggle room and like creative freedom to be able to do these wild things, right? Like those games very much like they're very big and there is a lot of freedom in you exploring the world and whatnot, but like at the same time it is so restrictive in terms of like the game mechanics and things like that. And like the moment that you stray off the beaten path and you do something that the game can't like account for, then it's like it puts you right back into that box. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like I'm just trying to illustrate like why I've been so disappointed in like the way Bethesda has gone ever since like Oblivion, because they used to be really good. They used to make games like Baldur's Gate 3. They used to be really good at that. And Obsidian used to be really good at that. And then it's just like you look at Outer Worlds and just how not like how like surface level it is in terms of being an RPG, and how Fallout surface level Fallout 4 and Skyrim is as well. So it's like it just feels good to have a game like this again, because we used to have tons of games like this all the time with things like Fallout New Vegas and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
I would even say the first Mass Effect was kind of like this too. So
100%. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll agree with you on that.
yeah. So like, it just feels good to have like, and even like Cyberpunk. Like as much as I love Cyberpunk, Cyberpunk is not this, man. Like it is very much in the vein of like Fallout 4 in this in the sense of like there are a few key decisions that you get to take, but nothing earth shattering, right? Like heaven forbid, I can't kill Judy, right?
Oh,
But
okay.
right? But like in Baldur's Gate 3, if there's a character equivalent to Judy, hey, that's your prerogative. If you want to kill her, then yeah, you go off and do that. But obviously there will be consequences if you do that. But yeah, if you want to, fine, go ahead, do it. But
Which is
yeah, that's what.
crazy to think about.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
can't you can't do the same thing Witcher 3 though, right? Like you can't just kill
Oh,
anybody you
yeah,
want.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, even with Witcher 3, Witcher 3 is not, it doesn't give you the freedom that this game does, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's that's the thing that I'm most excited for. Again, it's just that idea of like almost, I guess, like Zelda-esque, where it's just like you really can like shape and mold this game in like hundreds of different avenues. Like I think I one of the devs was saying that there's something like over 100 endings or something like that. Like, and that's just again that goes to show of just like they really like put a ton of thought into like how players are gonna like end up like taking their game and just like going off in any which direction with it. And like, okay, we have to account for the fact that players are just gonna do all these crazy insane things with our game. And like, hey, we they probably still won't see everything that's inside the game, but like that's okay that there's still some things that they won't discover, you know. And I don't know, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool that like we're like in this obvious era for like games now. Like the ones that get the highest praise and the most revere are the ones that give you the most choices. It seems
Yeah.
like
Yeah, for sure.
with Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, right? All these games have one thing in common. It's that not that just the fact that they're huge games, but the fact that they give you some sort of freedom and creativity, similar on the levels of Minecraft and I'm not gonna say Fortnite because I'm not really familiar with that, but like you get what I mean. Like it's the
Yeah.
same kind of games that give you that sort of freedom, but they're done up in the AAA value with an engrossing story or at least something that you're gravitating towards that you can connect to and you're interested in. So it's interesting to see that because like 10 years ago it was the Last of Us kind of games. 10 years before
Mhm.
that it was the Mass Effects or not even the Mass Effects, but like more like the action games, like the platformers, stuff like Jack and Daxter and like all that kind of stuff. So it seems like now we're in this era of video games where they everything everybody wants everything to be bigger and better, But obviously, it's not going to always be like that. There's going to be different kind of games, but the ones that are at the cream of the crop, so to speak, are the games like this one. And
Yeah.
again, it's something that you and I and even Walt too would like. Oh yeah, this game's going to do really well, but like again, nearly 900,000 players at launch for PC. That's
Yeah.
insane. That is huge, man. Like
Yeah.
they're. I think I saw something on IGN where like the dev was only expecting 100K at launch.
Yeah.
They sold like 7, 8 times, near 9 times their initial expectations. That is crazy,
Yeah.
dude. So it's cool to see that for a game like this though, where it is, or at least like 20 years ago, this thing was niche. Now
Yeah.
it hit mainstream.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. So, um, yeah, man, it just feels good to have a game like this, come out, and yeah, you do make a great point that like it does feel like the games where they do offer you this level of freedom, like a Zelda and Elden Ring, BG3, are the ones that seem to be like resonating the most. Um, or just even like hitting like because I remember with DOS 2, it was a big deal when that game hit like when it sold 1 million copies. Like, that was a really big deal for that studio. And context, like that was a studio that needed to kickstart that game, right? Like they didn't
Oh
have a
wow.
giant publisher backing them or anything like that. Like that's like their roots is like through Kickstarter, how they've been able to fund like a lot of their projects and stuff like that.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Um, yeah, so like for them to hit 1 million, I think it instantly made them like one of the most popular like CRPGs like ever. And so like yeah, just to see them to go from that to this where like hey, they were happy just to have 1 million copies sold to now where it feels like the game is like doing that Elden Ring thing where it's like it's not just hitting with the hardcore community, but like you're seeing on PS5 that it is the most pre-ordered game currently on the PSN store.
Before
More
Spider-Man 2.
before Spider-Man 2, more than your typical your Maddens and NBA 2Ks and Call of Duties. Like it's Baldur's Gate 3, man. Like a hardcore CRPG. Like this is the nerd. Like you want to talk about nerdy ass games? This is like
Yeah.
the cream of the crop, right?
Yeah.
So like that's it's so wild to see that, man. Where it is really like expanding beyond, just the hardcore community.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's cool to see though. Like you love to see, especially for games like this one, which makes like everyone interested in it, especially me. Like I have DSO2, but or DOS2 rather, on Switch. But we talked about before, like I couldn't get into it because it's a small ass screen and
Yeah.
it was just putting me to sleep because of all these things. Like so, like so that's where I'm a little hesitant. I'm starting a game. I just don't want it to put me to sleep. But
Yeah.
I have a feeling with all like the bells and whistles that it's gonna do justice. But
Yeah, for sure. Um, so I guess this kind of leads into the drama that's been happening with this game.
all right,
That
I'm excited to get into this actually because I
uh
saw the one IGN video about the Des panicking or whatever.
I didn't watch that. I didn't
I
want
saw it. I was like, what's this all about? And I clicked on
yeah.
it. So
So yeah, so this this really upsets me. Um a dev and context, a indie dev, mind you, came out before Baldur's Gate 3 released and made this big uh Twitter thread on how like hey like you know he knows like a bunch of people who are really excited for BG3 and like the game is looking great, blah blah blah. Um but please do not expect this to be like the standard like going forward. Like this is a rarity in the industry. Like this is a, quote unquote the anomaly, right?
yeah, that's what the video
Um
had. Yeah.
and then you had various devs or I hesitate to even use various because it was like literally three devs that chimed in, one from Insomniac, Blizzard, and Obsidian, that chimed in and kind of said their piece on it.
Hmm.
And like this is what the internet does. They take what this original indie developer said, who very nuanced, thorough discussion on the topic, right? Was not attacking Larian or Baldur's Gate 3, just said something, like just offered his opinion. Um, wasn't inflammatory at all, just made an observation on something that he was feeling.
Which makes sense.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you have gamers, and honestly, I'm going to say that content creators like Destin Legary, like a Young Yeah, et cetera, are responsible for this,
Right.
for taking this dev's original tweet and just like twisting it and making it into something that it is absolutely not. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just randomly on my Twitter feed, I saw, I don't know, do you know who Asmon Gold is?
Yeah,
The
yeah. I'm subscribed to him. I subscribed to him after Final Fantasy 14. He's a cool content creator. I like his stuff.
so so I'm assuming he made like well, I'm not assuming, he made some sort of maybe during like a stream or whatever, he reacted to Destin's video. I don't know what his opinion is on it.
Oh, I didn't
I
watch
just
it.
saw
No.
I just saw that the top comment on that video was someone saying, quote unquote, the devs who tried to sabotage BG3 are scum. And that was the top voted comment on that video. And I'm just like, how do you like, did the devs from that Insomniac dev Blizzard, Obsidian, and that original indie dev, they were sabotaging BG3?
Oh, I see
What?
it. Yeah, yeah.
And then
Wow.
and then another legacy killer, I don't know his full name on YouTube, but like he's a content creator. um when this first started popping off, his thumbnail on the whole matter of when this first started was um Insomniac, Blizzard, Obsidian devs attack Larian Studio and
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3. And it's like, this is a channel that gets hundreds of thousands of views, and it's just like I don't even know, like, what do you even do? Like, these people, like, I feel like they have a responsibility of like, you know what I mean? They have a responsibility of like, like when these things pop up, of like, you know presenting like 100% the truth, and not, like taking these points and like twisting them into something that they are not, and not riling up your audience, because like now what you're seeing is just like all these people just completely missing or misunderstanding what this developer was saying, or not even wanting to understand what this developer was saying. And now like it's just creating like this further divide between like capital G gamers and developers. And it's just like, man, dude, like, if you're a developer and you're seeing something like this, which was which stemmed from a completely harmless conversation, right? Like, how do you, like, again, if you're a developer, like, how do you even have the energy to like want to engage with people like this? Because if I'm a developer and I'm seeing all of this go on, I'm just like, I don't want to talk to gamers like ever again, dude, because this is just like it's sad, it's frustrating, it's just like
that's
I don't
that's
even know,
exactly why
man.
I got off Twitter, man. Exactly why I've so a lot of this stuff is new to me, other than the fact that I see Asmon's Gold's video right now. I have not watched it. I like watching his videos because he gives like his own take. I'm interested in like in his takes on stuff. But I do see the
Mhm.
video you're talking about, but the caption being like respond to Western devs attacking blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know what this reminds me of?
The Last of Us Part Two.
No, actually. I mean, but that's another example. It's last year with Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West. When people
Oh
were
yeah.
attacking Elden Ring because of the UI, whatever, or not attacking, but it's not, let's rephrase myself here. When people were adding their comments about Elden Ring's UI, and then the gamers were like, well, you're from Ubisoft. How can you talk? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, so stuff like that, right? And then same
Yeah.
thing when people were weaponizing Elden Ring against Horizon Forbidden West when that came out, stuff like that. So it's the same thing happening here, man. It's the exact same thing. All this sounds really familiar where people just don't know when to shut up. And that's including content creators.
Yeah.
Especially like I'm gonna put his name out there, Destin Legary. Especially Destin Legary.
Yeah, he my like good lord, dude. That video just like talk about like the epitome of like I don't understand how things are made like wrapped up into like a single person. Like I don't know how you're IGN and you say yes to letting someone put out a video like that. Like of course, you know, you'll have the capital G gamers like clapping and being like, yes, like he's on our side. Like that's what we've been talking about. Because somehow, I don't know if you've seen this, but somehow this is all become a discussion on um oh my god like devs like oh well now devs are too lazy to meet this new standard like the I've seen this specific comment probably hundreds of times of like literally people putting in quotes like oh no we have to work harder now because of this whole narrative that devs are panicking because of Baldur's Gate BG3's success that now devs are panicking so now people their big takeaways like oh no devs have to work harder now like oh my god it's so scary or like and now this is like come back around to, like the whole conversation now is like um you know that like oh well now this is gonna make devs like you know stop releasing like bad games or like good like this is good for the industry or blah blah it's just weird how like this has like just gone away from what the original discussion has become and just like morphed into something that like wasn't even the original discussion. That's my biggest thing. And again like you brought up Destin and I feel like Dustin and people like Young, yeah, and et cetera, the other content creators, like they are responsible. They have a responsibility for like making sure the right message, you know, goes out. That they're not like twisting these things and stirring the pot, and they absolutely are responsible for why this has gotten as out of hand as it has. Like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, that stuff really burns me up, and I think that probably makes me more upset than what the Twitter community is like. And that's also one of the reasons why I kind of just left content creation out of that bubble overall. I mean, we do the
yeah,
podcast here, but it's more like for us more than anything else. It's not like we're beholden to any like sort of outlet or something like that. But like all that stuff is like it really burns me up because whenever you do stoke the pot, like there's a difference between having fun and like really engaging in conversations, and it's always the latter where it's really dubious and like not agenda setting, but like you're setting some sort of um, idea out there that even if you don't have like full intent, but you still have the responsibility to understand that intent of what you're saying, and just putting it out there and putting a video out there, right? That's like the immediate thing a content creator does and what they do because that's their livelihood. But what precedent are you really setting for like a message that's being sent out there that's going to be really inflammatory? And that's what happens with this one, which was like really weird to see a video from IGN. And you mentioned that before, just earlier. Like it is weird to see IGN putting out a video out there like that. I was like, all right, that's an interesting thing. But IGN's IGN. So and then I saw Destin. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
I've seen this man's videos. I know he's gonna go on about. And to play devil's advocate, I understand, right? Because customers should. He's voicing that customers should demand some sort of quality whenever they're paying their hard-earned money and stuff like that. And yeah, totally, 100%, right? But that this is where we have a slippery slope because now people are going to delve into entitlement, right?
yeah,
I have this money, you should give me what I want. And sorry, but it's not that black and white, man. No matter how much you want it like to be like that, especially for game development, it's not that black and white. So faults on content creators and right for doing that, for stoking the flames with console wars and all this stuff. Even people using Baldur's Gate 3 as like a versus Starfield thing because they released on the same day, whatever, right? Even those kind of people, like you're not doing any kind of service to the community you love, you claim to love so much. The other part of that I want to touch on real quick is the whole setting standards thing. I understand where that dev's coming from, but like gamers shouldn't expect Baldur's Gate 3 to be like the new standard for RPGs, right? Because we already established that years ago. They're just kind of going back to that in a sense. But at the same time, Baldur's Gate 3 is an anomaly. I
Yeah.
mean, everyone knows that's listening to this podcast knows about the history of Baldur's Gate 3's like development cycle and like what it took to get there, and the fact that it's popping off now just shows that they did a hell of a job, and word of mouth is going around like crazy that this game's amazing, and that's good for them. But this is an anomaly because games are harder to make and they're more complex to make. So the fact that I think Baldur's Gate 3 is like a nice like it is a gold standard, but it's a rare one, and it's one that we should just take with appreciation. So being like, yeah, every game should be like this. Like, no, that's not
Which is
that's not it's not possible.
which is all that original developer was saying.
Yeah.
That's all
Hmm.
that he was saying is that look, like if we take BG3 and just like in a vacuum, that game was in development for 6 years. 6 years.
Yeah.
The same amount of time that the gap at least between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, right? Look at something like Mario Odyssey, Super Mario or whatever it's called. That it's been 6 years between the Odyssey in 2017 and our next, possibly longer than 6 years between our next like mainline major 3D Mario game, right? Um, so yeah, just looking at that it's taken 6 years to make. This is a team with 400 developers. 400.
Yeah.
That is close, or if not the same size of a team like Insomniac. Um, and then like you take that, and then also the fact that this is a team that has had over 20 years of experience just working within like this genre of game, like over the course of many years, just perfecting like this style of game over the course of like many iterations, right? Like they had to go through DOS 1, DOS 2 to for all of that to eventually culminate to BG3, which is like literally their culmination. That's not something that every developer has.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like to put this like all of a sudden this blanket on the entire industry that now everyone has to adhere to that and be like this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
absolutely ridiculous. Like especially and again, that's why I brought up with that one developer that context is so important is that he's an indie developer, right? So like of course he's not going to have the manpower of 400 developers. He's not
Yeah.
probably is not going to be afforded the time like 6 years of development.
If they're
Or
lucky, right?
right, if they're lucky. So it's just ridiculous to be like now every RPG has to be like BG3 or it's a bust. You know,
Yeah,
obviously I would
that's
love
why.
that.
I mean, that's why these buzzwords that articles and content creators would use were saying like setting the new standard, the gold standard, or whatever the case may be. Um, I feel like that's such a misappropriation because
Mhm.
then you're setting expectations like this is what has to be every time. Rather, like I just said before, Baldur's Gate 3 is an anomaly. Like God of War Ragnarok is an anomaly. You know?
And like and to that point, like it is an anomaly because like how many times in a generation do we truly get like these like genre like game industry like rippling types of games, right? Like
Yeah.
they are rare. They are rare for a reason, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, we could count them on our hands for like the past generation, right? Like Bloodborne, Last of Us Part 2, Elden Ring.
Witcher. Well, Elden Ring was this generation, but
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, then Witcher. Um, yeah. I mean, I'm sure we could absolutely list them out, but point
yeah,
is
yeah,
that it's a small list.
yeah. And like I would imagine like in most industries that the gaming industry, even though the AAAs are the ones that dominate because they're the ones that make the most money, I still would believe that, and especially in this day and age of acquisitions, that um, like indie developers are still the ones that make up the majority of our industry. Like, just look at like the thousands of games that release on Steam every day, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's all independent developers, right? So our industry like still like has like it's still like there's way more independent developers than there are big AAA studios. There's new independent studios breaking off, from major companies to do their own thing every day, right? We just had, Bruce Straley's Wildflower that just got formed this year, right? Jade Raymond with Haven was independent before joining PlayStation. We had things like Deviation Games, right? Um, the other one I'm thinking of, Crop Circle Games, where Josh Schur, who was this longtime Naughty Dog writer, he was at that studio for like 21 years. He just left to join that new studio. The founders of Playground Games over at Xbox, they left that studio to make their own studio. I think like Maverick Games or something like that. So like the point is that we are having new independent studios all the time, and so like again, my point in bringing that up is that like it is it is going to continue to be an anomaly because we have way more independent developers and they can't do what AAA developer like the number of times that we get games like Zelda or Elden Ring are so few because because the number of like big AAAs aren't as many as like indie developers. I don't know if that makes sense, but like that's why I think it's so rare is because like yeah, we just have way more indie developers. We have way more like small 10-person little teams that don't have a lot of money.
Yeah, it reminds me of honestly the movie genre when it comes to horror, because horror is like wasn't, at least in the past like handful of years as far as I can remember, wasn't the biggest trendsetter since like the Conjuring movies, as far as I know, when people go to the movies and stuff like that. But all the time you're seeing indie horror movie makers now blow up on the scene, right? We just had one, I think it's called Talk to Me, who the guys who directed that movie were YouTubers, and
Yeah.
now their movie's blowing up and people are saying it's like one of the best horror movies of all time, and that's essentially like an indie horror film from A24 that got funded by A24. And again, the same thing with like other stuff like Terrifier, stuff like that. So like it kind of reminds me of that exact same thing where we're like, what the horror indie movie genre is what I'm seeing in the video game genre, where smaller developers are gaining more popularity, and stuff that's like the bigger stuff, like the AAA stuff that we talk about, are the Oppenheimers and the Barbies and all the movies that did really well this year. So yeah, it's starting to see the same thing. It was really
Yeah.
interesting actually. So yeah, but yeah, again, when it comes to Baldur Gates 3, I feel like yeah, like I wouldn't call that as a standard. Like it's just one of those things where like it's a really damn good game, and it's gonna be tough for other games to beat this who are following in those footsteps. I'll say more or less.
And also like why would we want that to be like because people are saying that now like every RPG needs to be like this and it's like why would you want that? Like our industry
Yeah,
is so interesting because we have various different games, at our disposal that we can play,
yeah.
right?
Like the
I
Knights of the
love
Old
that.
Republic remake is not gonna be like this.
Like I like that there is something like a Divinity Original Sin 2 and then I can hop into Cyberpunk 2077 like right on my dashboard that I can jump back and forth between those. Different styles of two games that do RPGs very differently. And then I also have Final Fantasy X on my dashboard as well, right? Those are three different kinds of RPGs right there. And I like that I have that variety, right? So like to again put this blanket on the industry and say that now every game needs to be like this is again sounds so boring.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Honestly,
it's like it's why sometimes like the Souls type genre is kind of boring because it's like everyone trying to like chase that formula. It's
yeah.
like
They
middling
never interest
success.
me. Like Lies of P, stuff like that. Like I just don't care. You know.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just like I don't know why we like not we, but like why they are like calling for that. It's so weird.
Yeah,
Um,
trust me, I don't want every game to be the same, man. Like, I get Baldur Gate 3 is like, again, one of those 1 in a million games, but like, it's the same thing like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Like, I love that game. It was my game of the year last year when we did our breakdown. I don't want every game to be like that,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
It makes me appreciate when those games do come out,
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
more appreciative. Like, man, like when Persona 5 first came out, man, like I like it makes those games like way more special to me. You know what I mean? That
Mm-hmm.
like a game like that comes out once in a blue moon, that like a Persona 5 or a Witcher 3 or when I played Mass Effect 2 years ago for the first time, like I don't know, man. Like it it makes those experiences stand out a lot more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just glad it's this hit mainstream, so to speak,
Yeah.
because I saw Unaleska on Twitch. Who she's? Have you heard of Unaleska, the big Final Fantasy streamer?
I don't think so.
So she's a huge, not huge, but like I mean, she has a great following, but she's a big Final Fantasy Twitch streamer, and she's known for having one of the biggest Final Fantasy collections on Earth. She's actually going for what's it called? The Guinness World Records for Final Fantasy collection. So her stuff is massive, but even she's playing Baldur's Gate 3,
Yeah.
and Final Fantasy and Baldur's Gate couldn't be any different, you know. So and she's loving it. So it's cool to see like other people that wouldn't normally play this type of game actually get into it because of the word of mouth, because of people are hearing like what it's doing well and like everything. So, but the fact that like even people that are playing Final Fantasy that's mostly casual RPGs, right? Action RPGs, turn-based RPGs. To get into this
Yeah.
was way more hardcore, and they're loving it. Just tells me that, oh yeah, this is something that's for me too. So I'm gonna play it. And guess what? Next person I talk to, they're gonna play. So like, I was just talking to my neighbor about it earlier this week too, and I was like, dude, I want to get Baldur's Gate 3. I want to play it, but he's like, oh, I got it on PS5, so I still have to wait. And so I sent him a list of my backlog, like, dude, I'm trying to knock this out first. I can't play it right now. So he sends it, he screenshots the image I sent him, right? Writes all over it saying Baldur's Gate 3 and then sends it back to me. And I was like, oh, you son of a bitch. It's getting harder now. So it's cool that people are just like still gravitating towards it though. So, but man, countdown. So countdown to
Yeah.
September 6th. So let's get it.
Yeah. Um, and the last thing I'll say, and then we can move on, and with Evo, is that like, do you how crazy is it that like in this like, and I feel like it's only gotten worse in recent years, is that like this idea of like we're in constant communication with like the people who are creating the things that we love,
Yeah.
and it's always in like in especially in this conversation, like it's just feels like it's such a like combative, like aggressive, like a way that like again, like I said earlier, just it feels like it's just driving that wedge between developer and gamer like deeper, and it's really creating two sides that I feel like is just not healthy. Like the relationship between those two sides, I just feel like is like you can't even like repair it at this point. And so what I'm trying to say is that like how crazy it is that like people are speaking to the people who are creating the things that they love in this way, Like I one of the tweets that I saw, Dinga Bakaba, who was the director on Deathloop, longtime dev at Arcane Leon. He chimed in. He offered his thoughts on the matter with this long Twitter thread. Again, very nuanced, very thoughtful. Wasn't inflammatory towards Larian or anything like that. Just trying to understand the situation and offer his opinion. Literally, the first comment that I see under there, some capital G gamer going, quote, then stop making mid, lol. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
like it doesn't help the conversation, doesn't like add anything interesting to the conversation. Like, how weird is it that like because like and I'm trying to think like with you with Final Fantasy, like Yoshi P, and like me with Andrzej Sapkowski, the creator of The Witcher. Like, if I were ever in a position where I got to talk to someone, even on Twitter, with someone who had a hand directly in creating something that I love, like I am, you know what I mean? Like I'm not acting like that. You know what I mean?
It's funny you
Like,
say that because I just saw a video from not video, Twitch from Maximilian when he was streaming EVO, and he was saying how like he had the pleasure of talking to Harada, like the head of tech and stuff like that, about the characters and about the games, right? And he had a lot of conversation with them. Someone in the comments was like, "Did you ask him about Tifa?" And he's like, "No, dude, no. I'm not gonna
yeah,
badger these developers about a character I want or certain gameplay mechanics because you know what that does? That makes them not want to talk to you." So
yeah.
you can come up with criticisms or like things you like or you don't like when they ask, but like don't be like that kind of persistent.
Yeah, and even like Yoshi P recently, right? He was talking about like fan comments and stuff like that, right?
Oh, from Dust for 16, right? I think I saw.
Like I forget what was the context exactly, but he was talking about like the negative comments that he gets like all the time
Oh
on like
right, yeah. Okay, yeah. All right. So yeah, so he read like Japanese comments
yeah,
about the game, saying like all the negative comments was making him depressed because of the fact that like if it basically it rounds out to like if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say it, and
yeah,
that's not what these people were doing, so it was
yeah.
making me a little depressed. But yeah, I mean,
It's
to be honest, like that's a whole other topic. But like Final Fantasy getting that kind of um, hate has always been the thing. It's the same thing with new fighting games. Like when a new fighting game comes out, people are like, "Oh, well, the old one's better." It's the same thing with Final Fantasy. It happens every time. So
yeah,
it's really one of those things where you just kind of have to filter out all that stuff and see like what people are really thinking about it. But I can't even imagine like that's why Twitter is like such a cesspool, man.
yeah.
That's why Twitter
It's
is the worst. I hate it. That's why I left it.
it's it's just bizarre, man. I cannot imagine doing that to the people whose work I really care about. Like, and that doesn't mean that you need to like simp or like or show for it, but like there has to be nicer ways to go about doing these kinds of things, you know? Like, yeah,
That's why I joined Twitter because I was so excited for the idea that I get to talk directly to people that um that create the things I love, right? That is so cool. And then when you get like a like from them or a retweet or a comment, right? I got a comment from Masayoshi Soken before, the composer for 1416, and
yeah,
that made my day, right? The fact that I posted up a photo of the collection edition for Final Fantasy 16 with Harley in the background just smiling, and then Masayoshi Soken liked that picture. So like, oh, he saw it. That's cool. It's like that stuff was like also always very exciting to me. But there was a lot more that was just like people were just like giving their takes on when they should just shut up, and that unfortunately that kind of mindset and attitude bled into content creators that we're seeing that we've been seeing for the past couple of years. And it's stuff that I just got really fed up with, and to the point I'm just unsubscribing for people because now you're not just being rude in a joking manner, but now you're actually setting like your own audience to think a certain way without tailing to responsibility, and you're covering it with, oh, it's just jokes. Like, no, it's not that anymore because we starting to see that sort of attitude reflect into Twitter now, and it's damaging our relationship with these people.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It really
so
is.
at this point, I don't really know. I didn't really know what to do. I don't know what to do. So, the other fact, I just leave Twitter and kind of just absorb this content my own way, and then reach out to them, to developers, or to uh, these people in my own way, and thank them. So, and then we have the podcast here. So that's another way. But
Yeah,
other than that, I feel like you're right, man. I feel like its damage is irreparable at this point.
yeah, yeah. All right. So we've been on this for a while.
It's
Interesting discussion though.
a good
Really
topic, man. It
interesting.
was a good topic.
Yeah, for sure. It really just like, and you know me, I don't like, even though I'm seeing all this stuff, like going on, hundreds of comments of just brain rotted people who don't know what they're talking about. I don't comment, I don't respond to anything, so it's just like this has just kind of been like festering in my mind because I have so many thoughts on this, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
it's just bad.
it's the same thing for me, except like I would want to respond and it would affect me, and I decided to just do away with it. It's just not worth it anymore. I've been a lot happier ever since.
Yeah, but
But yeah. In any case, to put it to end in this conversation on a higher note, I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 is gonna rock socks, man. So
yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing is that this has become the discussion.
yeah,
Instead of how great the game is, which we are both going to enjoy soon. But yeah, this feels like it's taking over the discussion, which it shouldn't. The discussion should be on how great the game is, and that's just not the case right now
well,
because you have
if it, to interrupt you, if it makes you feel any better, man, this is like all sort of new to me, other than like one video from IGN.
true, true.
So right now, Twitter is not real.
Yeah,
like,
I
like
would agree. I would agree with that. But then that Destin video got like goddamn what, like 700,000 views or something.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
But in
it,
any case,
it's
like from what I've heard from people talk about it, like Skill Up, like I get it. Skill Up he made like he didn't like Final Fantasy 16. I don't give a shit. Like that's his man's opinion. He didn't like it, so what? I love it. Like he's talking about how great it is. The Friends Per Second podcast talking about how great it is. Like from me and my perspective, what I'm seeing on Steam reviews and all that kinds of, like people are loving it, and that's like the biggest takeaway from all of this. All that drama and stuff is like, all right, yeah, that's like a footnote in this giant page of history that Baldur's Gate 3 is writing as we as we keep going along. And then we have the PS5 version coming out, and that one's gonna have all the fixes from the PSC version. Eh. He just rubbed his hand.
Yes, sir.
So
Some would call that the definitive version.
I see what you
Thank you,
did there.
thank you for beta testing it.
I see what you did there. That's wild.
Yeah, man. Let's get on to Evo, man.
Let's do it. Let's finish it off.
What happened, man? What happened at Evo? I think besides the things that kind of made it into my circle was Project L continues to look incredible.
Yeah.
And then I saw the TMNT collaboration with Street Fighter. But yeah, aside from that, oh, and then I saw one new character that got added to the roster for Tekken, and she really likes coffee.
Yeah, so it's funny you mention that because Harada was saying like there was a couple of different regions he was looking from to bring to Tekken 8, and one of them was like Argentina, I think it was Brazil, again, and then Peru, something like that. So yeah, we got the Peruvian coffee queen. What's her name? Azucena. So yeah, no, she was cool. But yeah, so man, it went off with a bang, man. I wish I was able to go to this because the hype and the Street Fighter 6 tournament was just, you could taste it, man. Like the roaring of the crowd getting up from their seats on all the matches in Street Fighter 6, which I argue had the best sets the entire tournament, were just nail biters, edge of your seat. Like we're going to game 5 for these sets, and everyone just brought their A game, so it was so much fun. I wish I was able to go, man. So I'm already putting it on the calendar. Next year, 2024, Macho's going to EVO, and I'm really excited for that. And I gotta bring.
I mean, that is probably the best year to go. Probably going to be the most packed year because you would imagine Street Fighter 6 will be there, Mortal Kombat 1 will be there, Tekken 8 will be there.
Yeah,
Maybe
man.
Project L if it's released.
I would say like this year they'll probably have demos of Project L
Okay,
for
gotcha.
next year. Because I mean I don't know how far that game is along, but or how many characters they plan to release day one, but it's looking like it's coming along, but it's still very much like alpha.
Okay, gotcha.
What they brought to the demo there for this year was the characters they announced from the get-go, but just a little more polished. But yeah, we'll see how that goes out. But for everything that's looking, I think you're right, man. That's why I'm got me even more excited. The fact that like all these new games are going to be going to that tournament next year or potentially going to that tournament are going to be like hype inducers, and like that's a moment that feels like a moment in fighting game history that you want to be a part of. So
Yeah.
I can't wait to go to that one. So that one's like, so EVO 2024 is going to happen in July, late July next year. So I'm going to make plans to do that. But all the games that were there, the tournaments, the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came back with a bang too, and that had some great stuff in it. This was one of the first EVOs I saw too, where a lot of the last rounds were all mirror matches. So it made it a little boring in that sense that we didn't get to see a whole lot of flexing from like other different characters, but regardless, like the results were still very exciting and fun to watch. So Street Fighter 6 though came out with a bang, man. They had like an intro song called Rock the City that is just so hype inducing. You gotta listen to it, man. Like it's not cringy whatsoever, I promise you. Because I was listening to it while I was working out. I tell you right now, I was going at least 50 miles per hour on the elliptical. Like I was zooming on the elliptical and pumping those weights because of that song. It just gets you so hyped up. And that was the intro. So like once we actually got to the tournament and seeing people really start to flex with their characters, and it just made Street Fighter 6 one of those games where like it's so exciting to watch and you just can't believe that this is actually a thing. Like Street Fighter's back. Like Capcom really brought back a monumental fighting game, and it showed up and showed out at this tournament to really solidify it as like, yeah, Street Fighter's back. We're here to go, and everything's gonna be hyped. Like just to see the characters and the people playing them, just again have their own styles and mixes of plays and super hyped comebacks. Like everything about it was what you wanted and loved about EVO. So PlayStation, good job. That's all I'll say. Good job making this like another super hype fighting game event. So really can't wait for like the future of like the stuff too. So amazing stuff. From the announcements, yeah, we got a couple new stuff from Tekken, which is really cool to see because those characters look really dope. It was Raven and Azucena. So Raven, which is looking so badass. I haven't really played a Tekken game, so I'm excited for this one to be my first one. You had a couple of like really cool announcements. The fact that Killer Instinct is also coming back, that was huge because everyone thought that game was gonna just kind of die on the Microsoft servers. So the fact that they're having like a 10th anniversary update and sort of like an update for the Xbox games or Xbox consoles rather, so that's really cool. And hopefully that says to me that Microsoft is investing in what are the developers behind that one? Iron Galaxy. Now, I don't know. People are saying that they want Microsoft to acquire them, and this is the one time I had to agree with them on Xbox making another acquisition here, because Iron Galaxy could be that fighting game studio for Xbox and keeping Killer Instinct alive.
It's so weird that they haven't done anything with that IP since 2015.
Which is why I want them to like, yeah, if you're gonna acquire a developer, let it be Iron Galaxy. Let them work on Killer Instinct and let them be your fighting game studio because they know how to make it. They know making fighting games is just as hard. So the fact that they can scoop up a developer like that and keep Killer Instinct alive, to me, I love that because Killer Instinct has one of the most diverse and cool casts of fighting game characters I've ever seen since like Darkstalkers, where you're playing as a werewolf, a vampire, a Japanese ghost girl, a robot, a flaming demon. like there's no end to the amount of creativity in Killer Instinct, and it's all looks so cool. So thankfully, that's gonna be a new thing. They also released like a trailer for Aki, which is like the next, like a teaser trailer for Aki, which is the next character. And then you talked about the TMNT crossover for Street Fighter, which was super dope to see after seeing a Mutant named Mayhem in the theaters and really liking it. So I was like really hyped to see that announcement. But it does suck that the costumes are like $15 a piece.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's the biggest drama with this collaboration. It's almost the same thing with Baldur's Gate 3, except that the drama is drowning out the excitement for this collaboration, because the whole point of it was that, oh, you get to play as like the TMNT characters, like the costume of these characters,
That's
as
so much.
with your character creator, right?
Yeah.
Come to find out, these things are around $15 a pop, and to get the separate mask, like just to put on your character, is $5. So we're talking about
Oh
like at
Lord.
least $60 of DLC here for costume for your, not even for like to fight in matches with the regular characters, but for your custom character.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's even worse, man. So if anything, I think the backlash and the criticism that from that what I'm seeing from like Maximilian's channel, from eventhubs.com and stuff like that, that hopefully Capcom they've listened before, so hopefully they are really listening to that. Hey, tone down on these price for DLCs, because for DLC costumes, because that's like $15 is a lot, man. Like
Yeah.
they could probably get away with $10 for a TMNT costume, right? Maybe, and like $5 for like a character costume, but $15? Nah, man, that's way too much. And unfortunately, this drama is covering up the fact that this collaboration is like a really cool thing, especially like the artwork for it, right? The TMNT Street Fighter, like that's so dope. Instead of celebrating all that, we're kind of talking about like how these things are way too expensive. So
Yeah. Yeah. That like borderlines on like the horse armor. Like
yeah,
like that's awful, man.
it's yeah, it's. I think I was really hyped for it too. I saw the actual costume. I was like, all right, cool. Like I have to at least get like
And it's just cosmetic, right?
just cosmetic. Yep. So it doesn't affect stats or anything like that. Or doesn't add any new moves. Nothing like that. It's just cosmetics. So it's $15 for this thing. Whereas like the actual TMNT character, right, in Injustice 2 was $10.
Oh
So
man.
so yeah, a fully playable character in Injustice 2 versus a costume in Street Fighter 6. Like again, it sucks, but now I was gonna pick up like one of the costumes at least. I was gonna like a Leonardo costume because he's my favorite. Um, but yeah, not for $15.
And there's no way to like actually like earn it in the game.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because these are because the way, yeah, I don't think so because so there's drive tickets, which is what you earn in the game, and then there are fighter coins, which you pay with real money. And from what I saw, these TMNT costumes you need to pay with fight coins.
Yeah.
And there's 750 coins, so like you could buy these things in bulk, but regardless, it's like around $15 you have to pay. So it could be the Nickelodeon tax too, but
Yeah.
you know the fact that they came out with a new movie, people are gonna be hyped for it, so it's probably just taking advantage of like the impulse. But still, it's like I hope this doesn't happen again. Basically,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's that's crazy.
yeah. And
Um
then lastly, it's Project L. So I
so they showed this was just showing off Yasuo, right?
yeah, yep. Apparently,
Okay.
he's one of the hardest characters so far. The people that got to play him as, but in any case, this tag team fighter is looking to be bonkers, man. I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, it looks again, I mean it's why we always praise, Arc System Works in their games. Just like because of that art style and this game has that. That's why if PlayStation were ever to do a character fighting game again, I want them to do this art style so bad because it just pops, man. Like the All Stars Battle Royale are so dull to look at, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why you got to be careful with 3D models, right? Because even what's the game that was just announced? Hold on, I see it on the list here. It's the Nickelodeon. This one, Nickelodeon All Star Brawl, right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
coming out with a sequel for it, and they just announced that they're adding Plankton to the to the roster. Um, like that game's in 3D, and it just looks bland. It just doesn't look as appealing as something like as charismatic as something like Super Smash Brothers. So yeah, it ties into the fact that PlayStation's All Star Brawl, whatever it's called, Yeah, it just looked dull. So, but Project L is just one of those things where it's looking better every time. Like the stages, the characters, the animations, the move sets, the fact that you can really tailor your tag combat partner to like customize the way you want to, which is really cool. It reminds me of the UMVC3 and Marvel's Capcom 2 days. So this is going to be an awesome game, man. And the fact that it's free to play is going to be. I hope this sets a precedent the way what was it called? The way Multiverses was going to, and how they had a huge wave of popularity and impact, and then it just kind of died off because it was too much for them at that time. They just didn't expect the game to like really take off like that. So I hope Riot is prepared for something like that because there's a lot of expectations for this game. So,
Yeah.
But I'm excited. So
I mean, it's honestly like I don't think I've ever seen a fighting game be hyped with this much like hype surrounding it with when it still feels like it's Street Fighter and Tekken and MK1 like those get announced and then they're out within like the next year, but like we've known about Project L for a while, and I don't know, it just feels like since day one that there's been so much hype for it, you know?
yeah, absolutely. It's that Riot magic, man. Honestly, they're starting to delve into more different kinds of games other than their
Which is
mobile
awesome.
game.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and we're seeing success with it. With what was it it was a turn-based game that me and Walt were talking about that finally got its PS5 version that I want to get into, and then they have the other top-down action game that just came out too, Mage Seeker I think it is. That did really well. So, but delving into a fighting game, and the lead for like this game is also the guys who created EVO essentially, which is really cool. So they already know the bells and whistles of what's going to make a great fighting game in this era, and that's the online. It's a different kind of modes you can do. It's the ability for player choice, right? Like that's the one that really does well for people for fighting games is when you give them choices and to be creatively expressive. So, and this is doing that. You know, that's why Street Fighter 6 is doing really well for the fact that you can really mess around with the drive gauge and play how you want to, and then you won't really see the same kind of setup for every player playing one character. And that's why I think Mortal Kombat 1 is going to do really well because you have tag characters, and that's how you can really set up your party the way you want to. Project L is going to be no different, except that now instead of just you just have the layer of choosing your characters, but now you have the extra layer of choosing what kind of assists and power ups you want, which would be really cool. So this one's going to have an insane roster, and I can't wait to see the rest of it. But I know for a fact I'm going to be playing Echo.
Yeah, yeah.
He is so cool, and I can't wait to see what Jinx actually does too. I want to build an arcane team, so I think I might do like a Jinx and Echo team because I want the boy wonder and the abandoned sister. I want that, so it'd be cool.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it looks pretty sick. Was that kind of been the major headlines from EVO?
Think so, man. I think that's.
Aside from what was it, August 6th being EVO Day?
Oh yeah, the fact that so that was really cool, man. Yeah, the fact that we got to see like the guys who created Evo get the key of the city for Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That was really dope, man. Like what that was monumental for that. Like just think about it, man. Like the history of Evo is it was one that was always ramping up, but then some drama happened with the guy who was heading Evo for like serious drama. Then Evo was dying out. Like people thought like the end of Evo was really near, and then COVID happened. So it really seemed like there was like how certain gaming events were just like kind of like dying out, kind of like E3. It kind of was. It felt like the same for Evo, but the fact that we're here now, it had the biggest audience attendance. It had like Street Fighter 6 alone has 7,000 entrants, and now the creators of Evo were gifted the key to the city, and then now we have an official Evo Day. Like it's wild to be in this timeline, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Yeah, that's pretty goddamn cool.
Yeah, man. So also Mortal Kombat 1, we got to see Reptile, and he looks sick. So I can't wait to play this game too.
Yeah. Um. All right. I think that is going to do it for today's podcast.
Yeah, man.
We are yeah. So I was thinking, man, is our next podcast gonna be when when BG3 comes out? But nope. Um,
Yeah, I know. I think our next one will be like what?
20 something.
Oh, the 26th. Oh, I won't be here for that day, so that'll be just for you and Walt.
Okay, if he's here.
Yeah, if
Uh,
he comes back, yeah.
but yeah, we're gonna start with these outros. Macho, what you got going on this week?
Yeah, but so I got some friends coming over today. We're gonna be playing some board games, some Disney Villainous, and a couple other things. I gotta see what they bring. We might go a little bit crazy with these card games and board games. It'll be fun though. We got some pizza planned, but other than that, fun day of board game night with the buddies, and then gonna play more Red Dead Redemption. And I think that's really it. Really. Also, we're gonna actually. So my trip to Puerto Rico, I'm gonna bring my Switch with me. It's right. It's fine this time. I'm gonna bring my Switch and play Metroid Prime. So I'm gonna look forward to jumping into that, because that's like one of the highest rated games of the year. So it'd be fun to dive into that. Finally, a first-person shooter that can pull my interest. That's not BioShock. I'm excited.
Awesome, awesome. Um, yeah. For me, just same old. Just cause four. I've literally been like, I feel like I've been like feeding off the scraps of Cyberpunk and DOS 2 because I've just kind of been hopping around in that a little bit here and there just to kind of like help until BG3 gets here. So I'll definitely be doing that. Um, Wrapping up The Bear on Hulu and also
Oh, is that good?
Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, The Bear's really good and gives me PTSD of when I used to work at a restaurant. So
Oh, sure.
yeah.
I want
Yeah.
to check it out. I keep hearing great things about it.
Yeah, it's really good. W- what's funny is that I was really expecting it to be like, because yeah, obviously it revolves around kind of like being like a restaurant owner and dealing with the people within your little restaurant and things like that. And how you'll be able to make money and whatnot. But for whatever reason, I was expecting when I first got into it to be like way darker and that like some messed up things were gonna happen. There was a character that was like walking through an alley. I was expecting the worst, that they were gonna get mugged and like shot and whatever. And like
Jesus Christ.
this is not that show at all. It's like kind of a comedy, but also like really, really heartfelt and wholesome. There's some sad moments, obviously, but it's really about the characters and things like that. So yeah, I'm glad that it's not what I thought it was gonna be. So yeah, very, very enjoyable. Yeah, really, really good.
Sweet. All right.
Um,
Now I'll see if I can watch that in the plane right then, because that'll be a good one.
yeah, it's not like, and actually that's probably the perfect plane ride to well, actually I was gonna say your plane ride is gonna be longer than what it would be from Florida to PR, but because I was saying that the episodes are only like around 30 minutes. They're not, like hour long shows. They're like classic TV episode length.
Oh, that's
So I
perfect.
was like, yeah, okay, cool, cool, cool.
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
perfect. That's actually what I want. Because Twisted Metal is the exact same thing, and I'm happy that those are like half-hour episodes rather than hour ones.
Gotcha, gotcha.
So that sounds
Um,
good to me.
yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me, and that's gonna do it for DualShock and Sense 107. We will see you guys in 2 weeks for episode 108. Until then, peace out.